Hey, gorgeous, and welcome back to Glimmer and Grayscope podcast. I'm so glad that you are here with me today. If you're new to our little circle, welcome in. I'm Michelle, and this is the space where we talk about building a digital boutique that feels as beautiful as it looks and supports the soft life that you are working towards. Every episode, I bring you real conversations about the real work of building a quiet income through making our digital products. And today, I want to talk to you about something that I know has been sitting in the back of your mind. Maybe you've never said it out loud. Maybe you have never even let yourself finish the thought, but it sounds something like this. I'm not completely sure I'm allowed to do what I'm even doing. There's a folder on your computer right now full of content that you bought, templates, graphics, journal pages, ebooks, planners, and you have a vague, uneasy sense that somewhere that deep down in the download, there was a document that you did not read. And that document might have told you something you needed to know. It sounds like there's a low hum of worry underneath your whole business. And that worry is not fear of failing. It's fear of finding out that you built something on ground that was never meant for you to build on. That feeling is real, and it's more common than anyone admits. So today, we're going to take that feeling apart piece by piece until there's nothing left of it. Because here's what I want you to understand. Another 6 months of building without knowing the rules is just a legal risk that you don't want to be taking right now. It's 6 months of listing products with that knot in your stomach. It's 6 months of hesitating before you promote your own shop. It's 6 more months of shrinking back into the very thing that you built. That is the real cost, and it's not abstract. It's real. It's showing up in your sales. It's showing up your confidence and how loudly that you are willing to talk about your own work. Now, I know what the word licensing sounds like. It sounds like a lot of legal documents that you would read at 2 a.m. and immediately fall asleep to. It sounds like something that you need a lawyer to explain to you. And it's neither of those things. I'm going to prove it to you in the next half hour on our podcast today. So let me give you a picture that made this click for me. Imagine that you moved into a beautiful neighborhood and nobody handed you the HOA rules. And then you paint the shutters of a color that you really love. You put up a fence, you plant the garden that you've been dreaming about for years. And then one day, this letter shows up saying that you've violated 3 different guidelines. It's not because you were careless, and it's not because you were being sneaky, because nobody explained the rules before you started, and you had no way of knowing. That's exactly what happens to so many women in the digital product space. They buy content, they use it, they sell it, and then they find out that they were not even allowed to do what they were doing. Not one of them was being dishonest. They just moved into the neighborhood before anyone gave them the handbook. So today, I am the neighbor bringing you that handbook, and I'm bringing it to you on a warm plate with cookies and zero judgment. Let's get into it. What licensing actually is and why it exists. Let's start at the very beginning because I think a lot of the confusion happens before we even get into the word licensing. When someone creates something, whether it's a piece of writing or a graphic or a template or a photograph or a piece of music, anything at all, that this creation was automatically protected by a copyright with. Copyright is not something that you apply for, and it's not something that you register or pay for or fill out a form to receive. It happens the moment something original exists in a fitted form, which means that every single thing that you created for your boutique is already protected. The product descriptions that you wrote at 11 o'clock at night, the planner spreads that you fussed over for 3 days, the emails that you sent last Tuesday, all of it is yours in the moment that it exists. So when you want to use something that someone else created, you need their permission. A license is that permission written down. It is the creator saying, here's what you are allowed to do with my work, and here's what you're not allowed to do with my work. That is genuinely all the license is. It's not a trap. It's not a legal maze that's designed to catch you being bad. It's a note from one creator to another about what's okay. Now, here's where it gets interesting and where most of the confusion in our digital boutique world comes from. There's not one license, there are several, and they give you wildly different levels of permission, and they get thrown around interchangeably by people who do not understand the difference. You will see the same product described as a PLR in one place and an MRR in another. You will see the word commercial use slapped on things that do not actually allow commercial use. So what I want to do for you today is give you a mental filing cabinet, 4 drawers, 4 license types. Once you can sort through any product you encounter into one of those 4 drawers, the anxiety goes away. Not because the rules got easier, but because you finally know which rules you're playing by. Drawer number 1, personal use only. The first drawer is the most restrictive, and it's called personal use only. It means exactly what it sounds like. You can use this content for yourself in your own life. You can read it, you can print it, you can use it, you can enjoy it, you can hang it on the fridge, you can put it in your own planner. What you cannot do is share it and sell it, give it away, or use it in your business in any format. This is actually the license you already understand best because it's the one that you live with every day as a consumer. When you buy a book, you're buying a personal use license. You can read it. You can lend it to a friend one time. You cannot photocopy it and sell the copies at a table outside the library. You cannot retype it, put your name on the cover, and publish it as your own. Nobody has to explain that to you because it's intuitive. It's not yours, right? The trouble is that in the digital world, the same intuition does not fire. Let me tell you what this looks like when it goes wrong. Let's say this woman finds a gorgeous set of wellness tracker pages on a design marketplace. $12, beautifully designed, exactly the aesthetic her audience loves. She buys them, she opens them in Canva, changes the colors to her brand palette, adds her logo, and lists them on Etsy for $9. She makes 3 sales in her first month, and she's thrilled. Then the message arrives from the original designer. Because that file was licensed for personal use only, and none of that stuff she did was permitted, changing the colors did not make it hers. Adding her logo did not make it hers. Here is the part I really need you to hear. Editing something does not grant you rights to it that you were never given. Customization is not a loophole. If the license says personal use only, you can make it purple, add glitter, translate it into French, and it's still not yours to sell. Personal use means personal. Full stop. So when you are shopping, especially on the big design marketplaces where PLR sits right next to personal use products in the same search results, the license is the thing that tells you which drawer you're in. Not the price, not the quality, not the commercial that it looks like. It's the license. Drawer number 2, resell rights. The second drawer is resell rights, sometimes written as RR. This one gives you permission to sell the product, which is a real step up from where we just were. But it comes with a limitation that matters. When you sell it, you're selling the product only. You are not selling the right to resell it. Your customer can buy it and they can use it. She cannot turn around and then sell it again. Think of it like a finished product sitting on your shelf in a boutique. You can buy the candle, you can burn the candle, you cannot buy the candle and then open your own shop selling that same candle. You can't. The rights stop with you. And usually with straight resale rights, you are also limited on how much you can change that product. You're often selling it exactly as it came to you. Same design, same words, same file, same system. It might suggest the price point. Now, in practice, straight resale rights are less common in the PLR world than they used to be. You will see them, but they are not the majority of what you will encounter nowadays. I want you to know, though, what that means when you do run into this, because the word resell sounds generous. It sounds like you can do anything. And that word is doing a lot of quiet work to make a fairly limited license sound bigger than it is. When you see resell rights, ask yourself two questions. How much can I change this? And what exactly is my customer allowed to do with it after she buys it? Those two answers will tell you almost everything that you need to know right now. For drawer number 3, this is Master Resale Rights, MRR. The third drawer is Master Resale Rights, which you'll see abbreviated as the MRR everywhere online. This one goes a level further than the plain resale rights. With MRR, you can sell the product and you can also sell the rights to resell it. So you sell it to your customer and your customer can turn around and sell that same product to hers. And her customer can sell it too. This is the license sitting at the center of an enormous amount of online conversation that you probably have scrolled past in the last 2 years. You know the ones, so let me be very clear about what MRR gives you and what it does not. MRR gives you the ability to sell the product as it is. Typically, you cannot change it significantly. You cannot put your name on it as the original creator. You cannot claim the work as yours. You are selling someone else's product with permission attached. There's nothing wrong with that when it's done honestly. Some women make real money with MRR products, and they do it with full transparency about what they're selling. But I want to name something about MRR that does not get said enough, and it is not a legal issue, it's a business one. When a product has master resale rights, the number of people selling the exact product only ever goes up. It never comes back down. Every buyer is a potential new competitor selling your identical inventory. I've watched women in our community find an MRR product that they loved, but in the real excitement of it all, they search for the product name on Etsy and find 400 identical listings. Same cover, same title, same preview images, and then they had to decide whether to compete on price for 400 other people, which is a race nobody wins. So here's the collaborated question I want you to sit with. What would it take for a customer to choose your version of an identical product over 400 others? If you cannot answer that question, MRR might not be the right drawer for your boutique. And if you can answer it because you have a real audience who trusts you specifically, then MRR can work for you beautifully. Both answers are valid. This is a strategy conversation, not a moral one. I just don't want you to buy an MRR product thinking that you're buying the exclusive rights to it, because you're not. You are buying access. There's a whole program out there that's geared just for this. You'll see a lot of this on Instagram and Threads. It's marketing towards women who want faceless content, busy mothers with toddlers, things like that. And it's the same program. It's the same 6-figure program. I'm not going to name names because I don't want to get in trouble on YouTube. But anyway, you'll see it around. If you're looking for something that's easy money and just buy this thing and you'll have a ready-made business, it's on there. Okay, so drawer number 4, private label rights, PLR. Now we get into the drawer that is the foundation of everything we do here. Private label rights, or PLR, this is the most powerful license for a woman building a digital boutique. Here is what private label rights typically allow you to do. You can edit the content. You can rewrite it, reshape it, add to it, cut it down, transform it completely. You can put your name on it as the author. You can use it to create entirely new products. You can sell the finished product in your shop. You can use it as a lead magnet or a freebie to grow your email list. You can repurpose it across every platform that you're on. And it is why PLR is such a powerful tool for women who are building alone. But I want to reframe what PLR actually is, because what most people describe it as is wrong. PLR is not a shortcut. PLR is the first draft. It's the raw material. It's the flour and the butter and the sugar, and you're still the one who has to go mix it up and bake it all. Think about what a first draft does for you. It removes the terror of the blank page. It gives your brain something to react to instead of something to invent. Most of us are far better editors than we are originators, especially at 8 o'clock at night after a full day of everything else. That is what PLR gives you. It gives you something to react to. And then you bring your voice, your stories, your specific knowledge of your specific women in your niche and your brand. And it becomes something that could only come from you. Now, here's the part that trips people up, and I need you to hear it clearly. Not all PLR licenses are identical. Even inside the PLR drawer, there are variations, and they are significant. Some PLR licenses let you give content away but not sell it. Some let you sell it but specifically forbid you from giving it away for free because free distribution devalues it for everyone else who bought the license. Some allow editing but require you to change a certain percentage of the original, and then some restrict which platforms you can sell on altogether. And this one catches people constantly because some PLR explicitly excludes Etsy. Some forbid using the content to create a course. Some forbid bundling it into other products. Some restrict the minimum price that you can charge to protect the market for everyone else. This is why reading these specific license terms for every single PLR product you buy is not optional. Every single one. Because the letters PLR at the top of the page do not mean all PLR licenses are the same. They are not. I know that sounds tedious. I know you want to open the file and get started to create things. The business that you're pouring years into. That is the best return on your time in the entire workflow. So let's talk about copyright, trademark, and why people confuse them. I want to pause here and clear up something that comes up in my messages constantly. It causes real confusion. Copyright and trademark are not the same thing, and knowing the difference will save you a headache later. Copyright protects creative work. The words, the design, the photograph, the layout, that is what we have been talking about this whole episode. Trademark protects brand identifiers, names, logos, slogans, the things that tell a customer who made something. Here's why that matters for your digital boutique specifically. You can have a completely clean PLR license for a planner, edit it beautifully, and still get in trouble if you put a trademark phrase on the cover. Let me give you a real example of that kind of thing that I'm talking about. Popular sayings that feel like common language but are actually registered trademark owned by a company. Character names, brand names that are used as descriptors, like naming a template after a well-known app or a well-known brand of a notebook. Sports team names, university names, song lyrics. Song lyrics are a big one because lyrics feel like they float freely in the culture, and they absolutely do not. Your PLR license covers the content the creator gave you. It does not and cannot cover something that you added afterward. So the rule is simple. Check the license for what you were given. Check yourself for what you added. Those are two separate reviews, and both of them matter. And if you ever find yourself thinking, well, I saw 50 other shops using the phrase, so it must be fine, please notice what your brain just did. That is not evidence that it's allowed. That is evidence that 50 other people made the same assumption that you are about to make for your product. Enforcement being slow is not the same as permission. The 10 questions to answer before you use anything, though. All right, let me make this practical because I do not want to leave you with principles and no process here. Here are the 10 questions I want you to be able to answer from the license document before you use any licensed content in your digital boutique. And I'm going to tell you why each one matters, because a checklist that you do not understand is just a chore. So question 1, can I edit this content? This is the first gate, and it determines whether you are building or reselling. If the answer is no, everything else on the list gets smaller. Much smaller. Question 2, can I put my name on it as the author? This one shapes how you can talk about the product in your listing and your marketing. If you cannot claim authorship, you need to be careful about the language that you use, because implying that you wrote something that you did not is a credibility problem long before it's a legal one. Question 3, can I sell it as a finished product? Obvious, but You would be surprised how many licenses say no here, especially free ones. Question 4, can I give it away as a freebie? This is the one that catches people who are building an email list. Because your lead magnet is not technically a sale, some licenses treat free distribution as a bigger deal than selling. So if your plan is to use this as an opt-in, this question is your whole plan. Question 5, can I sell it on Etsy? Ask this specifically by name because Etsy has its own rules about resold digital content on top of whatever your license says. 2 sets of rules apply, and you need to know both of them and be clear. Question 6, can I sell it on PayHip or my own website or anywhere else that I'm listing this? Some licenses restrict you to one platform only. Question 7, can I use this to create a course or a workshop? Turning a written product into a taught product is a different use, and a lot of licenses treat it differently. Question 8, can I include it in a bundle? Bundling is where a lot of women get creative, and it's also where a lot of licenses draw a hard line, so make sure you know. Question 9, can I pass any rights along to my buyer? This determines what your customer is allowed to do, which determines what you have to tell her in your own listing. You are responsible for communicating her limits to her. Question 10, are there restrictions on price or quantity or how long the license lasts? Yes, some licenses expire. Some cap how many copies you can sell. Some set a price floor. There is a company that sells PLR, and if you do not continue to pay for the monthly subscription service, you are no longer allowed to use their products in your store. So please do read your licenses carefully. Most good PLR providers answer all 10 of these clearly in plain language in a document that takes 5 minutes to read. And if a license is vague or if you cannot find it at all, that is not a small thing to shrug at. Reach out and ask before you use it. A reputable provider will be genuinely happy to clarify this for you because they want you to succeed with their content. And if they are cagey or slow or they answer a different question than you asked, that tells you everything. Just stop. Stop right there with it. The 4 mistakes and the stories behind them. Now, let me tell you about these mistakes I see most often because I would rather that you learn these from a podcast than from an email that you did not want to receive. The first mistake is assuming all PLR is the same. We covered it, and I'm saying it again because it is one of these that'll cost you the most. A woman in our own community bought 2 PLR bundles in the same week from 2 different providers. The first one allowed everything, including freebies. The second one allowed selling, but just said no free distribution on any products. She used content from the second bundle as her welcome gift for a lead magnet, but because she assumed the terms that she had just read from the first provider applied to both, she had 400 people on her list who received it before she caught it. This was awful. Nothing terrible happened. She fixed it, she swapped the freebie, she moved on. But she spent 2 weeks in a state of low-grade dread that she did not need to spend, like waiting for that bad email. So read the license every time, even when it's the 5th product that you've bought that month. The second mistake is not keeping records. Once you buy a PLR content product, save the license document, not the link to the license, the actual document, downloaded in a folder on your Google Drive labeled PLR licenses. Here's why the downloaded copy matters and the link does not. Providers change their terms. Providers go out of business and their websites disappear. The license that you agreed to on the day that you bought it is the one that governs your use. And if the page it lived on is gone, you have no way to prove what it said. The system takes 5 minutes to set up. One folder called PLR licenses, inside it one subfolder per provider. Inside that, the license document renamed with the product name and the purchase date. That is the whole system. 5 minutes once, and you're covered permanently. The third mistake is selling PLR content as is without adding your voice. Now, depending on the license, you may be technically allowed to do this, but from a business perspective, It is not serving you, and I want to be honest about why. If you take PLR content and you put it into your shop exactly as you received it, you're selling the identical thing as everyone else who bought that bundle. Same words, same design, same everything. And here's the accusation on it, because I know exactly what some of you are thinking right now. You're thinking, but I don't even know what I would add. I'm not a writer. The original's better than anything that I would come up with. And I want to name that because that thought is not modesty. It's fear wearing a very convincing outfit. You are not being asked to write better than the original. You are being asked to write more specifically than the original. The original PLR product was written for everyone, which means it was written for no one in particular, and you don't want that for your brand. You know the women that are walking through the specific season that you are catering to. You know the exact phrases that she uses in your DMs. You know what she's embarrassed to admit that she needs help with. This is not a writing skill. This is knowing your people, and you already do. So one add-on for a welcome page in your voice will rewrite 3 different prompts that reflect the real life that you live that you can give somebody. That's enough to transform a generic product into a digital boutique asset. The fourth mistake is using a free PLR without checking the license. There is a lot of free PLR floating around the internet, and some of it comes with genuinely generous terms. But some of it's old, outdated, or carries restrictions that you would never expect from something labeled free. And some of it, honestly, was not the uploaders to give away in the first place. Free does not mean unrestricted, and free does not mean verified. Always check. Cover yourself. Cover your bases. So how to spot a PLR provider worth trusting? Let me talk about sourcing, because everything that we've discussed today gets 100 times easier when you are buying from people who do this well. Here's what a trustworthy PLR provider looks like. The license terms are easy to find before you buy it, not buried in the download. The terms are written in plain English, not legal fog. They tell you clearly what you cannot do, just what you can. That last one is the strongest signal there is. A provider who's confident in their product will happily tell you the limits because they are not relying on your confusion to make the sale. There is a real way to ask a question and a real person who answers it. They update their libraries, which tells you that the business is alive and that someone is minding it. And they have a reputation, meaning you can find other women who have used their content and will tell you honestly how it went. Now, there are the red flags. The license is nowhere to be found until after purchase. The terms contradict themselves in different places on the site. Everything is urgent. Everything is expiring. There's a countdown timer on the digital file that cannot actually run out. The content itself is thin, repetitive, or reads like it was churned out at volumes with nobody reading it afterward. And the biggest one, when you ask a direct question about a license, you get a vague, friendly, non-answer. That is not disorganization. That is a choice. When you do find a provider that you trust, treat their relationship like the business asset that it is. They are supplying you with raw materials. You are bringing the craftsmanship, and you can build a whole digital boutique on a partnership like that. Be selective. Not everything carrying a PLR label deserves your money or your hours. One beautifully transformed high-quality product in your shop is worth 10 mediocre ones every single time. So what if you already got it wrong? I want to spend a minute here because I know some of you have been listening to this episode with a rising feeling in your chest. You're doing the math on something that you already listed, something already sitting in your shop right now. I want to talk to you directly for just a moment. First, breathe. The overwhelming majority of license missteps in our world are quiet, unnoticed, and completely fixable. Nobody is coming for you. What tends to actually happen is a polite email asking you to take something down. Here's what to do in this order. Go find the license, the actual document that the licensed product came from. Read it now properly with 10 questions in front of you. It is entirely possible that you were always fine and that the worry was doing more damage than the situation. If you were not fine, unlist the product, not delete, unlist. Then decide whether it's fixable. Sometimes the fix is buying the correct license for something that you already have, which is often very small. It's a small amount of money for a large amount of peace. Sometimes the fix is replacing the underlying content with properly licensed content and keeping your own writing and branding, which is usually most of the work anyway. If someone has already contacted you, respond promptly, be kind, and do what they ask. Almost every one of these ends in the moment that you comply because the other creator wanted the situation resolved, not a fight. And then let it go, truly. You did not know. You learned, you fixed it. That is not a failure of character. That is what running a business looks like. Every woman I know who has built anything real has a story just like this. The only difference between the ones who are still building and the ones who quit is that the ones still building let it be a lesson instead of a verdict. So a real walkthrough, start to finish. Let me put the whole thing together for you now with a real example so that you can see how fast this actually goes through once you know the steps. You find a beautiful set of journal prompt pages on a PLR site. The topic fits your audience perfectly. The design is gorgeous. The price is reasonable. And before you buy, you scroll down to the license section and you read it with your 10 questions in mind. You confirm that you can edit the content. You confirm that you can add your own branding and put your name on it on the finished product. You confirm that you can sell it on Etsy and on PayHip specifically, both named. You confirm that you can use a portion of it as a freebie for your email list. You also confirm that you cannot pass PLR rights along to your buyers, meaning your customers can use the journal pages, but they cannot resell them themselves. That's fine for your purposes. And now you know to say that in your own listings. Total reading time, 4 minutes. You purchase, you download. The very first thing you do before you open a single design file, you save that license document into your PLR licenses folder. You renamed it with the product name and today's date, 30 seconds. Now you open the files in Canva. You update the colors to your brand palette. You swap the fonts to your brand fonts. You add your logo to the footer of each page. You rewrite 3 of the journal prompts so they speak to the exact season that your community is in right now, not a generic season of life. You add a welcome page at the front with your voice on it, your warmth, your story, the reason that you made this. You check what you added for anything trademarked because that review is separate. You export it as a polished, totally complete PDF. You write a product listing that speaks directly to your specific woman, not everyone. You include a clear line about what she can and cannot do with the file, which, by the way, builds trust rather than costing you sales. You upload it to Etsy and to PayHip, and now you have a beautiful branded boutique quality digital product that was built ethically and legally, and it reflects your standard. That's the whole process, start to finish. Maybe 90 minutes, and only 4 of them were spent on licensing. 4 minutes. Licensing gets more important as you grow, not less. And it shifts in ways that people do not expect. When you have 4 products, you can remember where everything came from. When you have 40, you cannot. This is why the folder system matters so much more than it seems when you are starting out. Your future self with a much bigger shop is going to need to answer a question about a product that she made 18 months ago, and she will not remember. The second shift is bundles. The moment that you start combining products, you're stacking licenses. A bundle is only as permissive as it is restrictive in how you use it. If 9 of your 10 items allow bundling and 1 does not, you cannot sell that bundle. The third shift is scale, attracting attention. A shop with 11 sales is invisible. A shop with 1,100 sales gets looked at by customers, by competitors, and occasionally by the original creators of the content that you used. Success is exactly when your foundation gets tested, which is why you build it now, while it's easy, rather than later when it's urgent. And the fourth shift is the loveliest one. The more you use PLR the way we talked about today, as a first draft rather than a finished product, the less of it that you'll need over time. You'll notice things that you are rewriting more and keeping less. You'll notice that you start with the PLR and you end up using almost none of it. And one day you will skip the PLR entirely because you already know what you want to say. That is the whole point. PLR is a scaffolding. Scaffolding is not supposed to stay up forever. So why does this all actually matter? I want to zoom out now because I think that when we talk about rules and terms and fine print, it's easy to hear it as a list of restrictions. So let me flip this for you. Understanding licensing is not a burden. It is the thing that lets you build boldly. When you know exactly what you are allowed to do with each piece of content in your own digital boutique, something changes in how you show up. You list your products without that flicker of doubt. You promote your own shop without hedging. And you grow your email list with your freebies and you know that they're clean. You build bundles and courses and product suites knowing that the foundation underneath each of them is solid. And that confidence is not invisible. Your audience feels it when a woman knows exactly what she's offering and stands fully behind it. There's a quality to a digital boutique built that way. Trust me. A trust factor that you cannot fake with better fonts. A trust is what turns a browser into a buyer, and trust is what turns a buyer into someone who comes back. Trust is what builds a community that stays with you for years. That is what the rules of the digital road are actually protecting. Not just your legal standing, your reputation, the thing that you're building that you want to be proud of in 5 years. I think that's the real question underneath all of this. Not, am I allowed to do this? The real question is, am I building something that I can stand behind? And knowing the rules is how you get the answer yes without hesitating. So here's what I want you to do this week. If you're brand new and you have not bought any PLR, your first step is simply this. Save the 10 questions somewhere that you can see them before you make that first purchase. That's it. You're starting on solid ground, and that is a gift. If you already have a folder full of PLR, your step is different. Set up your folder, one folder called PLR licenses in your Google Drive, then go find the license for the one product that you are least sure about and read it. Just one, not all of them, one. And if you are further along and your shop is already growing, your step is to bundle audit. Look at any bundles that you are selling and confirm every single component allows bundling. Some of you will finish this episode and do nothing this week. And I want to say clearly, that is okay too. Knowing is already progress. The doing can come when you have the space for it. If today's episode helped untangle something for you, I would love to hear about it. Come find me on Instagram, send me a message, tell me which part landed the hardest, or leave a review or a comment here. Tell me that you're listening right now. Reviews are the way our circle finds each other, and they mean more to me than I can say. If you have a friend who's just starting out on her digital boutique journey, send her this episode because this is the kind of foundational knowledge that makes everything afterward easier. She deserves to start on solid ground, don't you think? I'll be back next week with another episode just for you. Until then, remember to find your glimmer and walk in grace. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.